Hi there, this is Kay Moon, Twin Flame Channel and Western Astrologer for the creation of the Creator Conference. I'm super excited about this interview and conversation. I am joined today by special guest Natalie from Your Affirmation Station on YouTube. And she has been such an integral part of my own journey. I stumbled across her station through the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, algorithm. Sometime in, I think it was 2022, like the year her channel started. And since then, I've had so many of her affirmations on repeat in a loop in my background, just saturating the atmosphere, penetrating my mind. And the difference they have made is unprecedented. Natalie's special gift with affirmations is that she understands the unique sentence structure that the subconscious mind needs in order to facilitate transformation and growth, bypassing the conscious mind's objections. And she is extraordinarily gifted at this. She began her channel in 2022 with a simple intention. I just want to share, I just want to help other people. And she struggled to find affirmations online that resonated with her own healing journey. And so she decided to just build them herself, make her own platform. Having experienced her own share of life hardships, she possesses a deep understanding of the challenges that other people may face and why we may need to hear certain affirmations in a certain way in order to actually be able to cross the bridge from current state into desired reality. Through her channel, she aims to offer support and guidance to those seeking positivity and personal growth. And with her genuine compassion and desire to make a difference, she's dedicated herself to sharing these passions and helping others along their own path to self discovery and healing. Natalie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Kay. Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. That was the kindest intro. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
thank you so much for what you do. Everything that you've done for me, I just want to be able to share it with other people because it has literally transformed my life and is still transforming my life. So, let's get into it. Let's kind of start with some kind of basics. We hear affirmations thrown out a lot in the manifestation community and world. What are they? How do they work? Give us kind of an initial affirmations 101. Not that we haven't heard of it, but tell us from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, I like to say things from my perspective because everyone has a different perspective. So everyone's going to have a different belief. But for me personally, Abraham Hicks says it well. She states a belief is just a thought we keep thinking. So essentially, to me, an affirmation is similar to a belief. So beliefs are formed by thoughts, and most thoughts are repetitive or on repeat in our mind over a period of time or daily. So an affirmation is essentially, it would be the same thing. So a thought we keep thinking, whether it's positive or negative.
Mm,
So that's simply, to break it down simply.
I love it. And
Yeah.
so when we are repeating these affirmations or hearing them on repeat for ourselves, like how does that shift things? Why do affirmations actually work for people?
Um, I think they work whether we realize it or not. So it's whether we're conscious of it or we're not conscious of it. Um, Studies suggest we have about 6,000 thoughts per day. So if an affirmation is just a thought that we speak out loud, then it's bound to become a belief. So I think where most people are unaware that they are affirming every minute of the day. So when we're intentional with our thoughts and we're aware of them, that's where the real power lies because we can consciously direct our thoughts in order to form a new belief.
Amazing.
So, yeah, I think there's some people that, like praying for a miracle is one thing, but getting in alignment with, where the power is another thing. So your thoughts hold power.
Well, that's deep. Care to expand on getting in alignment with where the power is?
Well, I think it's our faith and belief in the unseen, that activates the blessing. And we activate that faith by taking authority over our own spoken words and thoughts. So, when you align it with source or God, it's like God doesn't see the illness, he sees the healing. So we have to focus on the healing, which puts us in alignment. So it's almost like a team effort. So I think people have a tendency of analyzing it too much sometimes too. So if there's like resistance, you can just gently move the focus to your desired outcome, and it's a practice.
Absolutely. There are people who, we hear people who have said like, "Oh, affirmations don't work." Or they'll say like, "If you just keep listening or scripting, it only affirms that you don't have what you want." There are people who are really, they have some strong feelings that are anti-affirmation. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that?
Um, so the way I look at that, I think about there's plenty of people out there that go on with daily life making statements as I don't have, which continues to reinforce their belief of what they don't have. So, what would be the difference, right? So, if you're scripting or you're saying affirmations like, I have an abundance, what would be the difference if you said, I don't have all day? It would be, it's like if you change your thoughts to say, I have, that you have a greater chance of the situation changing. So, I feel like energy goes where attention flows. So, I know that, you know, if you're constantly thinking about a situation, whether it be good or bad, I think um it can sorry, it can it goes, that energy goes in that direction. So I don't know, for people who insist that affirmations don't work, I think that's something that their personal experience maybe that they've had with that. Um for me personally, I can say that they do, just because it's taken me some time to shift everything that I've been thinking in the past of what I don't have and shifting it to what I do have, and it's just made a huge difference. You just kind of learn and grow as you go.
I really
Um,
like that.
there's a scripture that I always think about. It's Matthew 13:12, and it says, "Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. And whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from them." And Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." So I don't know. I think those who insist that affirmations don't work, I think they need to keep trying.
With that. I really love that. Even if you're not, religious or even Christian, there is something about what comes out of our mouths
Yep.
that if we're paying any kind of attention, we do see that there tends to be a fulfillment of our own words. And this is why we have these kind of even superstitious things like, shh, don't say that. I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
Or we'll have um, that Murphy's Law saying, what do they call that? What can go wrong will go wrong, those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
Um, we have these idiomatic expressions to that allude to the power of what we're saying. and the power that what we say has over our lives. And even when we haven't been intentional about what we've been saying, we do see many times the fulfillment of those kinds of words. And so, as I've gotten more conscious as a creator, divine creator being incarnate, I've become very meticulous about what I allow to come out of my mouth and what I don't, and even what I allow in my ears that doesn't come out of my mouth, like comes out of other
Yeah,
people's mouths.
that's true. And what you see, what you hear, what you surround yourself with, it does. It makes a huge difference. And once you're aware of it, then you like intentionally for me anyway, I put myself in better situations.
Same. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
wonder if we might deviate from our plan questions. And if this doesn't feel right, then I can always edit it out. But in your bio, you shared that there were some things that you were looking for in the world of affirmations as searched, and they didn't exist. So you decided to create your own. I'm curious if you
Yeah.
might share what you were looking for, because that might help people understand why and how your work is so different.
Yeah. I think for me, and I guess if I'm like really, really honest, um, a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with was like really deep inner work. And so there were some affirmations that I felt were just a little too basic. And then the other thing was I didn't resonate with everyone's voice or energy, to be honest. So it was like there are some, I think there's probably some people that can relate with me too, that you can just kind of feel the intention behind some of the audios on YouTube. And for me it was I needed the whole experience. Um and I needed to dive a little bit deeper. I know with some of mine I have a lot of like basic affirmations too because some people just like that. But I really wanted to put a lot of intention behind it. So, for me, most of the ones that I found were either like the audio was too loud, or I didn't like the voice, or I didn't like how it was worded. So I just started writing my own, and I started recording my own. And I was like, I'm just gonna have to do this myself for myself, and it ended up working out. Where I was like, maybe I need to share this. So, and part of sharing it was because I wanted to see if others resonated with how I was feeling as far as like not finding what they were looking for online. And I thought maybe I had something different I could offer.
You definitely do. I'll testify. you
Well, I
yours
appreciate that. When
yours
you
were
said that, I was like,
exactly what I was looking for, and I had very
wow.
similar thoughts that there's either the voice didn't resonate, um, like it sounded too like in my subconscious like couldn't reject it because I or couldn't accept it because I was always super conscious of the
How it
tonality and
sounded.
the pronunciation of words.
Yeah.
Um, or it was too impersonal, like, being uh, incarnated in a female body with a female voice. Like I needed to hear another voice
Yeah.
like mine. For me, I find that soothing, but some of you may not. You may find a more gender neutral voice or a male voice, masculine voice soothing. I needed to hear something that sounded closer to me.
Yep.
And likewise, the energy just wasn't there. And there were times when I would be looking for something either around money or health or being anxiety free or love. Um, and I would listen to the track, and there would just be immediate personal resistance as I'd hear either the way they phrased it, including, tons of, negativity or fantasticality that made it very
Right.
graspable.
Yeah.
Um, or it would just be superficial in a way
Right.
that let me know there wasn't a lot of thought behind this. It was just put together to be able to catch, the likes, the shareability, that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and so
I agree.
that vibe, I mean, as we're all becoming more and more conscious here on earth, that like you said, the intentionality is you can feel it. And
Yeah.
one of the things that really had me gravitate to your your affirmation station, the name
Thank
of your
you.
channel,
Yep.
um, is that the intentionality was 100% there. I was like, okay, yeah, this woman's not just making up words. She's not
That's
just
awesome.
stringing words together. The things she's saying have come from a place of deep experiential knowledge of what it means to be on one side of this particular bridge and needing to get to the other side. And I was like, okay, she can take the hand of my subconscious and like get me
That's
there.
amazing. That's awesome. That makes me feel so good because that was the whole entire point. And like, even in the beginning, like my channel did not get monetized. It got denied. It got like,
Wow.
and I was just like, if I could just help one person, if I could just, I do hold a lot of compassion for other people because I've experienced a lot of, hardships in life myself. Maybe not, we all experience it to varying degrees,
Yeah.
but that, it's funny when I was a kid, um, I used to want a microphone so bad. And
Really?
I had no idea why. Yeah. I had no idea why I was fascinated with microphones. And it wasn't until, you know, I'm 43 now. So I didn't realize why. And now I'm like, okay, maybe that's, I kind of get it now. Maybe this is what I'm meant to do. So, and it birthed out of my own healing journey. So, sometimes we go through things in life that are really, really difficult, but sometimes something really good comes out of it on the other end.
They're here.
Yep. So I'm so grateful for, what has come out of it because I love doing it and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Speaking of things that have come out of it, I would love if you're open to sharing some examples from clients and your own life about how uh, affirmations have shifted things, has changed things.
Yeah. My personal story I can share with you because that's how it all came about. Um, I don't know how much detail you want,
All the
but
details. We like the all the
okay.
details.
um, it's kind of a wild story. About in 2017, I was in my apartment and my landlord had just installed a new stove. And so I just come home from work. I decided I was going to make dinner, and the stove wasn't on, but I had my hands in the sink, and I was standing next to the stove. So the sink was metal, and I had my hands like there was water. I was washing lettuce. Um, and I decided I was going to boil a pan of water. And so with my right hand, I grabbed a pan off the stove. And at that moment, I felt a million trillion hot needle pricks going through my entire body. And it was from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head. And I had no idea what was going on, but I knew it was something not good. So, and the funny thing, before it happened, I was actually kind of like just doing a little meditation and I was saying my gratitude. I was like, and so this is the funny part too, because, you know, sometimes you're doing everything right, and some people will question all the time, like, how did I attract this? And I wondered that myself. But sometimes I think maybe maybe there's paths in life that we're meant to take, and I don't have the answers and I still can't figure out, why it happened, but it did. But I do know that before it did, I was doing my meditations. I was saying my gratitude. I was praying, which I do throughout the entire day. Um, but in that moment, I didn't actually know what happened. But come to find out, the stove wasn't grounded when they installed it. So they didn't ground it properly. And I completed the circuit by touching the metal with my right hand and having my left hand on metal. So um, I don't know how I came out of it, but somehow I did. And from that point on, my entire life changed. So I had, for a period of it's almost 6 years, I started healing in 2020 when I made the affirmation channel, 2022. Um, but I had a series I lost like a chunk of hair off my head. I had extreme panic attacks, nonstop, morning, night, day, couldn't leave the house. I was bedbound. My adrenal glands failed. Um, I had so many health issues that I went from being peaceful, alive, joyful, having a really mellow life to just like completely losing myself, like my identity. And mostly because I just couldn't, um, fear overcame me. I couldn't leave the house. And it was as if there was like, I used to explain it to my mom. I used to say, it feels like there's an entity of, like, there's an entity that is grasping onto me. Cause like consciously, I was like, this isn't who I am. I know who I am. This is not my true self. But it felt like an entity and like something was like a tick, like that I was just trying to pull off of me. So I could like go back to my normal way of living. Um, and at the time during 2017, I was following like mostly law of attraction stuff. So I honestly did not work as much on my thoughts as I did uh, about like law of attraction. I was mostly just like trying to manifest things in other ways. I wasn't like, I think like law of assumption is more about like focusing your thoughts on like a desired end, right? And I didn't really know too much about that at that time. So during those years, I basically exhausted all my efforts through doctors, medical, um, vitamins, holistic care, like chiropractors, health, like any kind of treatment I could find. I reached for everything outside of me to heal me. And although those things do help at times, and some of them did provide relief, I continued to get worse. And that really, really frustrated me because I was like, I felt like, where's that strong person inside of me that, like, where's my power? How come I can't connect to my power? And I remember when I was in bed and I was like bedridden for almost a year, um, I had no more strength left. And I just closed my eyes. I was like, I don't even know if I can meditate. Like, this is just getting annoying. I can't connect. Like, I feel like I'm trying so hard. But I laid there and I was just like, okay, God, show me. like, show me what it is, because like it's got to be simple. It has to be simple because I have no more energy left. And um I I remembered, I'm probably not going to do well at this because I don't have it in front of me, but in the Bible, and I'm not religious, I'm not super religious or anything like that, but I do resonate with some of the scriptures. Um and Christ. So there was a Bible, I mean, a scripture in the Bible where Jesus went up to a woman that was sick, and she touched the hem of his garment, and she said, "If I could only touch him, I would be healed." And he turned around and he said to her, "You know, go in peace. Your faith has healed you." And I thought about that, and I was like, okay, so it's faith that heals. It's my faith that heals. And so I I just started saying one affirmation over and over again at that moment. And I just kept saying, I believe my faith has healed me. So it's like if we have faith and belief in the unseen, that activates the blessing. So I just kept saying, I believe my faith has healed me. So maybe it wasn't me healing me, it was my faith in the the creator, that it was like a team effort in my mind. So I said that over and over again every day. I said it through the pain, and I didn't ignore the pain. I would see it. And this is something I'd never done before. Self love was another thing that shifted, like that was huge for me, because I in the past had never worked on that. And I didn't realize how important that was. Like that made a huge shift in my life. So it was both of those things. It was like my faith, and then that one affirmation, and learning to love myself. So what I started to do was just like whenever I had pain or whenever I couldn't get out of bed, I was like, it's okay, I love you. And I just would like put my hand on my heart, and I would just send my whole entire body love. And I would just, of course, you don't know if it's working. You're just kind of like, I'm just going to do this because it's better than saying, I hate this, or it's better than saying, I'm sick of this, or I wish it wasn't like this, or why is my body like this? So once I shifted the way I talk to myself, um, everything in my life started shifting. And I also did do one scripting. Um, I wrote a letter to a friend, and I told him, I said, you're never going to believe it. I'm completely healed. I have all my energy back. I never had a panic attack again. I have no more fear. I just went on and on about how wonderful I was doing, which at the time was not true, but I claimed it. I was like, I'm done. I'm making a decision. I'm claiming it. And I actually put it in the mail, and I put a stamp on it, and he received it and he tucked it away. And within about, I'd say a month, because I was on a lot of medication just to get through the day. And I just woke up one day and I forgot to take my medication. Didn't even think about it and just jumped out of bed. And I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh. I just went hours without even thinking about that I have to do this, this, and this to get through the day. And then little by little by little, and it actually happened a lot faster than I anticipated. Maybe like a couple months, I was almost back to my complete self again.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like a true miracle, because I remember telling my mom, I was like, I don't If I can't live, I don't want to be alive. And you don't say that because you're like, "Oh, I'm going to hurt myself." You say that because when you're in the middle of something like that and you're not living, you're suffering. So it's like
Death is better than
you're
the suffering. I
yeah, you're like,
understand.
"Well, why am I alive to suffer?" Because this is like it was hard to, you know, to get through the day not knowing, you know, if you're going to feel like a loony or or you're going to be like or you can just, be live like a normal person.
Yeah.
So, and I had never experienced anything like that previous. I never had issues with anxiety. I never had issues with panic attacks. I live a pretty peaceful life, and I've always had that practice. I've always had that kind of energy in my life. But when that happened to me, it just everything was upside down. So, healing from it, I mean, it took 5, 6 years, but knowing what I know now, I wish I started, the practice a lot sooner. But
Yeah.
I'm here now and I have the station and I get to help others, and now now I can relate to others, which is huge because when you can relate to others, you have a lot more compassion, you have a lot more patience, you have a lot more understanding. And there are a lot of people suffering. And I see it with my channel a lot because I do have a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm realizing that with my channel right now, I would like to go a little bit deeper than because I think when I started, it was a lot of the stuff was I was getting a lot of things for like SB affirmations, love affirmations, some self concept. And I realized at one point, saying I am beautiful, I am smart, I am this is one thing, but to really like dig a little bit deeper and have a little bit more movement with the internal, like deep healing, is something I want to start shifting towards because I don't want to like be so much in the ego all the time.
Incredible. What a journey.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen it in the videos that you've been sharing more lately that there's and it's interesting because my coach who um would have been on the channel yesterday, Romania, she talks about how important it is, you know, the external is great. And in her, to put it in her language, God can give you the external. Or in other words, it's easy to call something in. Anyone
Yep.
can manifest something.
Yep.
That's how we're built. That's what
Yep.
that's the way the realm was created. That's the way we were created. But what allows a thing to become a fixture in your life, what moves us into an up-leveled life, a full life of all the things, not just a thing, is identity.
Yep.
And she talks about how important it is to facilitate and create an identity because it's the identity that actually moves you beyond just this manifestation or that manifestation, but into a life
Yep.
where things are specifically going well for you consistently. And so
Right.
I'm watching you really walk us through that in your most recent, some of your most recent updates. I loved, sometimes I'll listen to God's Got This on repeat,
Yeah.
like at
I have
night as
another
I
one
sleep.
coming that you might like that's similar to that.
Love that
Yeah.
one.
That will be on trust.
Oh, that's a good one. My
Yeah.
world is taking care of me. I love that one
Yeah.
too. Um,
I've had a lot of good I like saying that. I had a lot of good things happen to me when I it's funny when I write and record these, like I see things, like I see so much movement because I'm in it and I'm editing and I'm listening.
wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, and then I also really like the I am living the life of my dreams.
Oh,
That
yeah. My
that one
favorite.
I'll loop. It's one of I think I
I
even
love that.
commented on something similar. There's another one similar to that that was kind of almost a prelude to that that you had. And I remember writing in a comment section at one point, like, this is presently my favorite song. It is
Oh,
on
I love that.
repeat.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that so much.
Yes, yes. And so
I get,
there's
I get inspired. There's times where they just come to me like my phone is filled with
wow.
like my notepad is just like it just comes and I write it down. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to record all these? Because I do have another job. So it's like, I have so much going on and I wish, at some point this is kind of my goal in what I'm working on
Just
manifesting
do
is
this.
yeah, I
Love
love
it.
that. So I feel like I'm going to get there,
You
So
absolutely will. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, this is
and it will be
incredible.
fun
Absolutely.
because it can grow, it can continue to grow and it can and not just growing as I mean like the amount of videos and stuff like that. It's depth through depth and healing.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Um, do you have any client examples that you feel comfortable sharing or not at this time?
I don't work with like I work with clients. They send me their affirmations, and I do personalized affirmations, but I don't often hear back from them. So I don't have like, which I would love. Sometimes I think about checking in on them for sure. Um, but I do have an example of I help my family all the time.
Okay.
Um, and my mom, she had um, she had something wrong with her tooth, and the dentist told her it was going to be like 20 grand or 15 grand or something like that to go and have surgery on. And she's in her 70s and she was just like not having it. She was really nervous. And I said to her, Mom, you know what? We're changing. We're not now. You're not going to have to do this. We're not doing this. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, this is what we're going to do. This is your affirmation. And I think I saw it online somewhere, someone else that had said it. And it was like, I have perfect dental health. My tooth is completely healed. And I just said, no matter what you do from now on to your next appointment, this is what you're going to say. And so she kept saying it and she had an appointment with another doctor and he was going to so she had a referral so she had to go see the surgeon. And so she went to the surgeon and he said, "Yep, you're going to need this. It's going to be about 15 grand, 15 20 grand. It's going to range, whatever." And I said to her, "Nope, you're still not doing this. You got to keep repeating your affirmation." I said, "You're going to go to my biological dentist." And I said, "We're going to go to her because I trust her." So I went to her. She referred my mom to another dentist to get a bone I think it's called a bone scan, some kind of scan. I forgot what it's called. Um and we proceeded with the affirmations. So like this was over a period of a couple months. And she kept saying, I have perfect dental health. I have perfect dental health. And the day of her appointment, my sister called me and said, have you heard from mom? I said, oh, yeah, the dentist said she has perfect dental health. No need for anything. And she's like, you got to be kidding me. And I do this a lot with my family and they don't like it, but it works because I feel like if I can get them or another person in a state of belief where they believe what I said was true, it activates it. it's more powerful because in their mind, the assumption is that, okay, it's true. There's no doubt. So for the people that are affirming, it can take a little bit to convince yourself. But if you can say something to somebody and they have no resistance and they don't think anything else, they believe you. So I said it to my sister, and she said, "No way. You've got to be kidding me." I said, "Yeah, they said she had perfect dental health." She said, "Wow, that's a miracle. That's amazing." And then I called my mom on the way home from her, or she called me on the way from home from her appointment. And I said, "What did they say?" And she said, "You're never going to believe this." He said, "There's nothing wrong with my tooth at all." And I was in shock, but at the same time, I wasn't, because I was just like, I knew it. I knew it. Like, I knew it had to happen. I knew it had to work. And she went back to the other surgeon and told him that there was nothing wrong with her tooth. The scan that they did was like one of the best scans that you can do. So it showed nothing wrong with her tooth. She saved 15 grand and
Wow.
all the pain. Yep.
Yeah. Was she in any pain that
She,
caused her to go to the dentist to begin with?
no, no, she wasn't. Just, I think her regular dentist just told her that there was something wrong with it. And
Hmm,
yeah, they did some scans and stuff like that in his office. Then she went to a surgeon. He said the same thing. So, after seeing a couple people and them saying the same thing, she just didn't know what to do. So,
I see.
but yeah, we said that affirmation for a couple months and completely gone. And she was like high as a kite that day. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this stuff works." I'm like, "Yeah, just listen to me. It does." But
That's
she was like a kid in a candy shop. She was like telling everybody she knew now. So she's working on it now more herself. I catch her doing little meditations sometimes when I come over to
oh, I
visit.
love
So
that.
it's really
Wow.
cute. Yep.
Wow, talk about a like a legacy change, like forwards and laterally in
Yep.
your generation's DNA that everyone in your immediate family is getting to witness this, that your mom in her lifetime is getting to experience her own power in this way,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
your sister and all the children that come after this get the
Yeah.
opportunity and the benefit of knowing, okay, our power is in what we're saying and thinking to ourselves, not in anything external.
It's so true. I mean, I grew up in a Christian church, and my whole life I prayed and I begged God to help me in certain ways, and there's ways where, and some prayers get answered and some don't. And I know people that have um prayed for their entire life for healing. But when you sit and you talk to them and you listen to what they're saying, they're not in alignment with their healing. And
Mm,
that's why I realized when I stepped away from the church, and it's not that I don't still believe, have those, strong beliefs. I don't believe in organized religion.
right.
But when I stepped away and I started doing this work on my own, I realized, oh my gosh, this is what's missing.
Hmm.
Like, this is what's missing. And I, for a long time, like, my mom thought that meditation was, evil, because that's what the church had taught us.
To say that she has perfect dental health, that she thought that was evil.
No, that, like, meditation,
Oh,
like,
meditating, generally speaking,
yeah,
the practice of
meditation,
meditating.
tapping into different powers. I'm like, come on. Like, this isn't about, that's not about that at all. You're getting, I'm more in alignment with God than I've ever been.
That's right.
And that's all just with my thoughts, like
Yeah.
they say, kingdom of heaven is within. I'm more tapped in now,
Yep.
not looking for an outside source to save me or begging for it's unity, it's a union.
Yep.
And for a long time I left God out of it too. So I was trying to manifest things by just like mindlessly affirming and reaching, and just when I was new to all this,
Hmm.
I I would be like, I want this. I'm going to get it. And I did. But the satisfaction and the real, like, it didn't last. So you're like reaching for more. But when I started to involve God more into my life and my, like, when I started looking at it as, um you know uh that it's getting an alignment with source, is that's it's more powerful, it's more satisfying, it's more long lasting. And then you reach for desires that are really fulfilling.
Hmm.
So
Let's, can, I want to make sure that we break this down in a way that people fully understand what you mean when you're saying alignment, because there's, there is such a thing, like when many people pray, and then you're right, they do have that kind of like, well, maybe God will answer my prayer, maybe God won't. If it's God's will, I'll just be over here waiting to see. I've come to
yeah,
understand, and my coaching with Romania, definitely listening to you and through other sources, that that's not alignment. That's actually disempowerment. And that is the opposite of
right,
what actually Jesus came to teach. It's the opposite of how we were built, and it denies the totality of what what's possible. To say that some like either reaching externally for the solution in a doctor or in some external God that is, not hands on, not inside of me
right.
already. That there's some kind of way that there's a break. And it's so funny that we started this with your story and you were talking about you completed the circuit, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because when we exclude ourselves in the operation of this power that makes things come into being, and we leave it to the doctor to fix it or do it, or leave it to God to
Hmm.
heal it or not heal it, and we just sit ourselves down shrugging our shoulders in desperate need, we are outside of where the power flows. But when we step
Yep.
in and we actually do our part, the co-creation, as you said,
Right. Exactly.
that's when we complete the circuit and power can actually flow through us to
The electricity.
facilitate, yes, to facilitate the outcomes that we're looking for.
That's an amazing way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful and perfect.
You're
Yeah.
literally the living embodiment of the example.
Someone said when you get electrocuted, you're now a shaman. I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe. I'll take it.
Right? I mean, hey, if the power was already there, if that's what it took to turn it on,
I know, right? Electrified now. But
literally.
yeah, I think I think you said it really well, because yeah, to alignment, and to me what I learned, it's like, actually I had a friend and I used to say to him, I healed myself. I healed myself. And he used to stop me and he said, Natalie, you didn't heal yourself. And I said, yes, I did. And he goes, no, God healed you. And I said, well, I healed myself. And he goes, it's your faith that healed you. God healed you, but it was your faith that activated the power. And when he said that, I looked at it in a whole different light, because it's like God doesn't see the illness, he sees the healing. And so alignment to me was like, that's I had to focus on my healing. So to me, that's alignment. So instead of looking at the illness, you know, that's what, I'm out of alignment and I'm looking at my illness. But to get into alignment with God, it's looking at the healing or the health or the wellness or the wholeness of who I am. And that takes a lot of faith and trust, right? So like it just sometimes you just have to keep going and you have to keep trusting and you have to have patience and you have to have that endurance. And that activates that healing.
Mm, yeah.
And that's what takes human effort.
Mm,
So, as humans, like that's where the strength comes in, that's where the tenacity and the the faith. I don't know why it works that way because I would love to just manifest on demand all day, every day. And maybe it gets easier with time, and but it's really just like what everyone says too. It's like when you're building muscle, you have to go to the gym every day and you have to lift this heavy weight. And at first you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this, and then you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you see the changes and you see movement and momentum and you start feeling better and then you're like, how could I ever do without this?
mhm.
So it's a
Absolutely.
practice.
It absolutely is. I'm glad we broke that down a little bit more because there's that alignment piece, like getting all the electrical circuits to connect, and that the missing
Yeah.
piece really is how we are participating in the power or choosing not to, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, there's a there and there's I mean, it's funny that you've been talking about the Bible so much. I wasn't expecting that we would go there, but here we are nevertheless.
Sorry.
And no, 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 no. I think it'll probably help some people who have left the church for all the reasons
Hmm.
that you and I have, um, but who are also looking to connect the dots between, what we understand as our God-given right and authority and power and our capacity to exercise it. Because there's this gap that
Yeah.
we experience. And so I'm trying to find the piece of scripture, but there's a place, I think it's somewhere in the book of John, where Jesus is explaining, look, this is the way this works, and you're not going to understand it until later. But here's the deal: God lives inside me. I'm going to live inside you through the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
When you activate the Holy Spirit, the one inside of you that I'm going to leave you with is going to be greater than anything outside of you. And once you're working with that power, that's when you have the ability to do all the things I've done and more.
And more. Yep.
And
That's
so
so true.
there is this thing that's there. It's part of the construction of the human. It's the way part of the way we're made, right?
Hmm.
It's part of the gift and the impartation of Jesus's message, and he was so clear, and it's even written. It's like, look, I came for all the people, not just you Jews. There wasn't a Bible when he walked the earth, so it wasn't just about the
Right.
people who could read a Bible. He came for everyone's liberation and life, everyone, so anyone could partake of the power. um, but consistently, whenever he performed a miracle, he made sure to tell people.
Not to
uh,
tell anyone.
well, there were certain places where he did that, especially at the
Yep.
end where it got dangerous to just be like out and about. But um, he would tell people, it's your faith that did it, or
Oh, right.
you
Yeah.
only need to believe. And that
Yep.
was a very consistent thing in all of the miracles, whether he was like, you know, telling someone who wasn't even asking for a miracle, like,
Yeah.
your faith has done this for you, or someone who did, he wasn't, very religious, who but believed that he could do it. Your faith did this. Someone who was miles and miles away, who sent him a letter and was like, "Can you just say the words so some healing can get done?" He'd be like, "Wow, okay, your faith did this for you too." He consistently, it came out of his mouth repeatedly with just about almost every miracle. It's your faith, it's your belief that
Yeah.
facilitates this outcome. And
Yep.
so,
And, and that your faith and your belief, I mean, if you don't monitor, your thoughts and what that word is that you're speaking all throughout the day, every day, you have to question, you have to wonder, like, okay, what are my beliefs here? Like, because you don't think that a lot of people think, yeah, of course I have faith. Of course I believe. But it's like, what are you speaking into existence?
mm,
That's like, you gotta talk and speak like Christ did too.
absolute
Otherwise, is that
authority.
really truly faith? Is that if you're, talking about the illness all day and telling your friends and family and everybody else how miserable you are, is that, you know, is that in alignment with Christ, and what is that in alignment with that faith and that belief?
Mm,
So, yeah, I think that's where the real shift came for me,
I love that.
because
It's
it's like, yeah, I can say I believe and I have faith all day, but truly, do I? What am I saying and what am I sharing?
Mhm. I love that, especially for
And
people who are
that's, I
trying to
guess,
manifest love, right?
yep.
If you're
And I
wanting to
guess,
manifest love, but you're only ever talking about separation or the horrible things your exes did to you, or men are
yeah,
garbage, or
mm-hmm,
of course she's like that. All women are like that. If
right,
that's the default, but then you're affirming, I'm going to be married, I'm going to be, it just, you see how they cancel each other out, and the end result is stagnation.
right. And I, from personal experience, and I'm still working through my own, is I had a belief that I have no idea where I picked it up, but somewhere along the years, I picked up that men did not want love, did not want it, did not desire it. And I just kept attracting it. Men that just did not want love. And I was like, and then I would just talk about it. Why is this happening to me? And it just reaffirmed how I felt. And it kept showing me, it kept showing up, like, how that what I was saying was true. So, like I said before, you can, or Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Mhm.
So you can speak anything into existence. It doesn't have to be abundance. It can be, you could be poor. You could just keep speaking lack, and it will show up. So that's the tricky part.
This brings me to my last question for you. And I think you probably covered the number one, but it's the basic do's and don'ts. People want to create their own affirmations. What do you want to make sure people understand how to do, or what they should make sure that they're not doing, because that'll just undermine their effort.
Yeah, I think so. From the people I've worked with, I've noticed that everything is so personal, you know. So I don't think there's a really right or wrong way of doing it, but it's more to just, I think, sit down and really take like a deep dive into true, what you really like, your inner healing needs, um, what your needs are. And some of them don't have to, like, you don't have to do deep contemplation on a lot of things, but it's very personalized for everybody. Um, but I don't actually think that there's like a specific way of doing it. I think as long as somebody is if they're new to affirmations, they can start small and just learn to build their faith, because it's going to be a little bit hard in the beginning. And it'll feel awkward. It won't feel right. You're used to saying the opposite. Like you have to start small and it's practice. But, once you start to see things shifting, you really start to feel empowered. I don't know if that answers a little bit of what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Keep it personal. They're
Yeah.
always personal.
Yeah. And like, I can have my station I try to post things that would resonate with a lot of people, but I know a lot of this stuff is not going to resonate with a lot of people too. But with my channel, my purpose is to really just like connect with what's coming through me and put it out there. So instead
I
of
just
like,
find that so funny in light of the fact that you got electrocuted, that you would even say it that way. Like, well, so I connected and it comes through me and then I put it out.
yep.
I mean, it's not
Yeah, now
technically funny that you got electrocuted, but
mhm,
how literal the metaphor is around your life purpose or
yeah.
your mission work at this time.
The great thing about that too is that I can look back and I'm not attached to that situation at all.
Amen, girl. All
I
right.
just don't, I'm just like, it happened, and I don't like to attach myself to, as like, I don't identify, like you were talking about identity earlier. I don't identify myself as like, this is, you know, happened to me and this is what I don't know. I like to separate it. It happened. I healed. I learned. I grew. And it's a fun story. Not maybe a fun, but it's an interesting story, you
Mm,
know.
mhm, mhm,
And I
mhm.
can share it with others and hope others can relate. And so I use that. I use it as a tool now.
Yeah. Well, it's a powerful story to help people really understand. I mean, at least that's what I got from it. Like, oh, right, the missing link. And like,
Yeah.
it's us. It's us.
Yep.
We have to show up in congruence. And I think the word you used, alignment
Hmm.
with the power to create.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, because I can say like 5 years during that time, I was very well aware of like I was on a spiritual journey and I was testing everything. I was testing the waters everywhere, anything I could get my hands into. And nothing, nothing helped. So for 5 years, I just kind of suffered through it
Mm.
until that it just clicked. And it really just took that one affirmation. And that's, I believe my faith has healed me. And when you start to say that every day, like it gets ingrained in your head where you're like, okay, there's no other way. There's just no other way. And then power, source, energy just takes over.
Yes. Well, because you're in alignment with it. There's
Right.
no barrier, there's no rejection, there's no you do it, but I'm not going to, which is the equivalent of standing at the edge of the river, calling all the fish to you, but not putting your net in, which I see a lot
Right.
of people do. Like, I manifest this thing, but it doesn't land, it doesn't stick.
Right.
All this money came in, and it's feast
So
and
true.
famine for me. Or my
Yep.
person, they decided to be connected and then they just left. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you can
And
calling it in is the easy part. You got to
it
drop the
is.
nets.
Do you know how many times I've manifested like a phone call from
Yes.
a guy that or this, or I'm like, oh, it happened. Did it stick around? No. And sometimes I got the big things that I really, really wanted, like specific person. I've done that. I don't do it anymore, but that's just my personal. That's for me personally. But I called in many specific types of men into my life that I wanted. And after calling them in, I realized this was not what I wanted. And I learned from that too, because personally, like, I can't speak for everybody else because I know some people are really like, everyone has different relationships and we're not in them. So I don't know. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I want the one that's going to stick. I want like the one that has God in it.
Mm,
And so that's where I'm at now because through my own journey, I've tested out everything everybody else has tested out. In the beginning, I was like, ooh, law of assumption. I can assume this to be true and that to be true. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna take that. And I got all of it, but never with the satisfaction
mm,
and what my deep, deep like inner being really wanted. And now like with relationships, I'm like, I want that like depth, that true love,
yeah.
that God love. And so I'm like, okay, hands out of the clay. I don't, because I know I can do it. Like I know I can. But I just want to see, like, I want to see what comes, on it. So, and I'm still working through like my own beliefs around that too. And I'm just being patient.
So rich. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Really, really good stuff, Natalie. So,
Good.
if people really resonated with the things you said today, they want to take it a step further, the links have been posted in the chat throughout the live broadcast to your channel. But if people are like, okay, what can I do with Natalie? I just vibe with her. I need to be in her world some kind of way. What can they do? What do you have available for people to go to the next step with you?
So I do have a Facebook group and that's, free for anybody who wants to just go on and connect with other people and if they need healing. I believe in the power of my community and two people and other people joining and agreeing. So I wanted to put that out there for anybody who needed, mostly in my mind, like what came first was healing, but anything really. Um, if anybody's struggling with anything and they need help, and other people are on there too that can help. It's a new group, so it's not super active, but the more people that just want to get in and kind of get things brewing, the better. And that's called the Home of Affirmations. But they can find that on my channel as well. And I think and
Amazing.
that's in the community tab.
Amazing.
And if they want to do personal affirmations with me, all they have to do is click on any video in the description box and I have links.
Love
And
it.
that will bring them to like I have just like two packages right now. And they can also email me. Anybody can email me and I can work with anyone.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Natalie, it was a treat to have you here. For anyone who's listening, I highly, highly, highly recommend you find over on her channel called Your Affirmation Station. She's got affirmations for body confidence, for abundant health. She's got affirmations for money. And then things that are about relationships and love and being able to feel like you are capable of having love in your life. She's got those as well. And she's moved significantly into the world of the identity parts that we were talking about. So there's a lot of self concept affirmations available for confidence and more on her channel. So I highly recommend you take a listen and do what I do. Like I said, I've got a very personalized Natalie playlist that
I
I
love that.
I loop it. I practice a method called saturation because I believe we can program the same way we can program water I think Dr.
Mhm.
Masaru Emoto talked about that. I do believe we can program the molecules in the air and the cells in our bodies. So I kind of always have something on loop in the background from her.
I love it.
So I recommend that if you're curious or you find something that resonates for you, that you perhaps take that on for yourself as a practice and enjoy it. It's been a treat to have you here. Thank you for coming on, Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, everyone. I hope you'll join me for the next interview. Coming up next, we are going to just go back and see who's up next. We're gonna hear from Agnes Vivarelli, and I'm very excited about her. She is a legend in the manifestation community worldwide due to her work around cultivating and calling in love, as well as becoming confident in yourself and who you truly are. So, hope you'll join me for that. And if you're catching the rebroadcast, it'll be the very next recording in this playlist. Take great care, everyone, and bye for now.